Why, hello there, a nice Tao here. I hope this video finds you very, very well. For today, I am bringing you a review of this Rapax Buddy. This is a budget knife from, I guess, a random small company. I don't know if they're going to actually make themselves into a legitimate company in this terms of putting out consistent knives or anything like that, but you come across knives and companies coming from China that they have a brand name and then they put out a few knives and they disappear. I don't know if this is going to be one of them. They actually have a logo and they actually have a couple knives to their name now. I got this off of White Mountain Knives. I would link it down below. However, it does not appear to be in stock. And I can't really find them anywhere else. So I'll keep looking around. But for now, there's no link down there. So sorry about that. Let us get right into specs so that we can talk about this thing. It's pretty simple. It's a basic. I mean, there is a few things that are interesting here. It does have a 3 5/8 inch blade, actually a tiny bit over that. So I mean, you got over 3.5 inches of blade. It's not the smallest thing. Almost 8.5 overall. About a little over 4 3/4 of an inch on the handle. Let's make some comparisons so we know exactly how big this thing is. I can't just throw out numbers and expect everybody to be like, oh yeah, no, that's exactly how this thing's going to be. Our full-size Civivi Conspirator up top and the small Civivi Elementum down below. Yeah, it's bigger than both. It's actually a decent-sized knife. I'd still say it falls in the full-size category. It's not a super large knife. But you do have a good amount of grip length. You have 2 AA batteries plus a forward choil. Most people are probably going to be able to get their hands on this thing without too much issue. That'll be it for the comparison. So let's move on to getting this and knocking horrible things and exploding things out. I don't know what the heck that was. But I'm going to find out, unfortunately, later. Let's get the weight. 4.60 ounces. Yeah, that feels about right. It's got full steel liners in there. In fact, only one side has any milling. Well, I guess they're not full steel liners, are they? They're about half steel liners. Well, one side's full, and the other side just goes like right along up here. So, full-size, skeletonized on one side, full-size, or half-size, not skeletonized at all on the other side. I guess that's how they balance out the weight. Makes sense. But the weight isn't too bad for the size of a knife it is, with that much steel. It is T8 scales, T6 clip. So you are going to have to interface with T6 on the clip if you care to, swap it. It is reversible, but take it apart, you also have to interface with that T6. So, not ideal, never ideal, but how is the T6 feeling on this thing? I have taken it apart once, so yeah, the T6 are actually pretty good here. They feel almost deeper than the T8, which is nice to see. Measurements. Let's close this for these measurements first, shall we? Thickness, under half an inch thick with the clip, 655 thousandths. It's not actually that thick. It's pretty reasonably thin, in fact, for like a full-size knife. I mean, under half an inch, where say even the Conspirator here is over half an inch. It's not super noticeable, but it might be nice if you do have certain, like, maybe it'll disappear in your pocket a little bit more, is basically what I'm trying and failing miserably to say. 126-ish thousandths, 7 thousandths, something like that, on the blade stock. And behind the edge, I've got some smudge. I forgot to clean this knife up. I have been using it. 18-ish thousandths behind the edge. I feel like I might have went a little bit too high, so maybe 17, 18 thousandths behind the edge. not the thinnest thing in the world, but honestly, with this height of a flat grind, it is pretty decent. I mean, it doesn't get too bad, even at the tip. It does taper a little bit, but it does cut pretty decently. It's actually got a solid edge on it, and weirdly enough, it still has a pretty solid edge on it. It's got a little bit more bite to it than some knives I've been coming across lately. So, yeah, it's a little bit on the thicker side, but it's, I mean, well within range of where you kind of want to see it. Like, it's not super thin, slicey, but it'll hold up a little bit better, in theory. I believe that is our end to our specs. I feel like I'm forgetting something on the specs, but I don't believe I am, so let us move on. Quick overview of this knife. It's a clip point blade with a hair there. Let's get that out of there. Go away. VG10 blade steel. It's the buddy. It says it right there, just refusing to be. There we go. And the Rapax logo is maybe an alligator. I don't know. It looks like it's got like a sail coming off, so maybe like a Dimetrodon or something, a dinosaur. Whatever. Satin finished on this particular one. Like I said, it's got a solid, actually a kind of a better edge than some knives that I've had recently. It is a little dull here, but it's still got a decent amount of bite up front. The plunge grind is actually really good, and there is a sharpening choil, and the stop pin is attached to the blade internally, so no issues whatsoever for sharpening. I mean, they give you a ton of life on this thing, and yeah, it gets a little bit thick quickly, but not unreasonably so, so you'll have definitely some life on this thing. There is some jimping up here, and it provides a tiny hint of traction, not nearly enough. It's not really good jimping. This is a front flipper. Yeah, it doesn't go all the way up. It's not really the good jimping. Fortunately, it is reasonably high in relation to the pivot, so it's pretty easy to actuate. Also, fortunately, they gave you this weird-looking, almost forward-set flipper with, for some reason, actually good jimping on it. Why didn't they put this jimping over here is beyond me. I mean, they've changed jimping between the points. Makes no sense, especially when this is actually good jimping. It disappears into the handle when you open it because of this little bump there, and as you can see, the jimping actually lands for your index finger when you choke up, which is kind of like the standard position, honestly, for this knife. Yeah, that jimping is way better. I don't know why it's not over here. You don't get much use of it out here, but whatever. The massively, well, similarly high in relation to the pivot flipper tab makes this thing super easy to deploy. I mean, you break that, and even on a light one, it kind of goes. It's not the heavy D10 or anything like that, but yeah. Which it shouldn't be, considering it's a front flipper. Front flippers don't tend to do with super heavy D10s, but it is on bearings. It is not being reasonably smooth. I mean, that's not bad for a budget knife. Like, that single shake to a glide shut like that, or almost glide shut like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. The action is actually pretty darn solid here, and yeah, no play. Weirdly enough, the pivot has just been not had to need to be adjusted too much. Like, I've taken it apart and put it back in, but it's, I may have Loctite it. That may have been it. I may have forgotten about that part. But yeah, action-wise, quite good. VG10, I don't have a lot of experience with this steel. It does, historically, from what I've seen and know in, like, just looking around, it's not the most common budget steel knife, at least not recently, but it also has a tendency to, for some reason, be slightly on the more expensive side for budget knives. I don't know why, it seemed to every time I saw it used. It was like, oh, let's put VG10 on it, but it's a $70, $80 knife or a $100 knife, and it's like, why? This is not that, fortunately. This is VG10 at a much more reasonable price, and I don't think I have a problem with it at this point, at this price point. I know like Boker and stuff. I've used it at and on the Urban Trapper and stuff at much higher price points, and I just don't know why. But that seems to be where VG10 seems to come in for some reason. Slightly higher than average budget knives, even though it definitely is a budget steel. Fortunately, not the case here. We will talk about price in a moment. This one has this sort of antiqued scale. I'm pretty sure this is steel. Yeah, I'm pretty positive that is just regular steel made to look like that. There's another variation with a more plain one and gray G10. So I'm pretty sure this is just antique, but I do like the look of it. They've managed to achieve a nice sort of worn look to this thing. A little tiny bit of milling visible right there. It's nice. The edges are not like super chamfer, but because they've got these big chamfers on them that alleviate a lot of like the edge isn't so abrupt that it ends up being sharp, right? It's decently knocked down, and up here is pretty rounded and smooth. It's just flat scales, but it's actually reasonably comfortable. Even on top of the budget pocket clip here, you definitely feel it, but it's almost gone up here completely from your grip, but it's pretty comfortable overall. As I said, as a liner lock, you have a jimped, which I don't really normally like, and chamfered lock bar, which could create a nasty sharp point, but weirdly enough, this one is just thick enough that it doesn't. And the lock bar axis is, actually pretty good. The blade does drop to your nail, but it is sort of the end of the blade, and you can kind of get it right there, so it doesn't really get you or anything like that. I'm not too worried when I'm disengaging this thing. Not like the strongest, but it's a solid lockup, so no complaints there. It locks up behind that flipper tab way up and way down or up in there. Kind of hard to get in there. As you can see, the detent ball is pretty far back. But it should make for a decently strong lockup because it's sort of like in between these two pieces of steel here. You can see there's the lock face. Whether that equates to more strength than any other liner lock, who knows, but whatever. I already mentioned the reversible pocket clip, which is nice. Not necessarily the biggest deal in the world on a liner lock. They're not the most friendly to left-handed people, but it is what it is. It has a backspacer with a lanyard loop made out of G10, which is something you don't always see. A lot of budget knives tend to shy away from actually putting backspacers or certain things, or like, I don't know, you often see sort of just standoffs at this kind of price point. I have no complaints about it. It certainly gives it a rigid, solid feel. Nice texture on the G10. The pocket clip is kind of the weakness, in my opinion. It's got a big flat at the end, and it's low, right? Like, you can actually see that the front is lower than the back here. So it's a little tight in and out of the pocket, but there is really good flex on this thing. It does have a little bit of tap to it. Though I definitely made it worse there because it's not like the most. The retention is just so-so. I'd say the pocket clip is definitely the weak point here. Just sort of get rid of that and give us a little bit of a better spring to that steel would be nice, but all in all, it's pretty solid. What does it cost? It costs $54. I do think this is... Oh, I should mention that mine is off-center. It is ground off-center. The blade seems to be sitting... Now, the blade's a little bit off-center, but it is also ground off-center, so putting it even further off. I would say that that's definitely not ideal. It may not be the case for all of them. In fact, who knows... I have, when I first posted this thing, someone said they had one, they liked it, and theirs was dead on, so that's sort of neither here nor there. It can happen. It's not ideal. At $54, this feels... It feels like a $45 knife, if I'm being honest. That almost $10 extra isn't the biggest deal. Maybe it's going towards that slightly more expensive VG10. Maybe it's still playing a factor here. But with its size and certain aspects of its fit and finish, it feels right on the money, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that much better than, say, it's a VV Elementum. I guess the action kind of is. So, I mean, if it's really your jam, yeah, it's certainly not going to break the bank. It's not unreasonable where it sits. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a discount or something on it, which, being at White Mountain Knives, you can usually find a discount. Which, yeah, makes it pretty solid for just a, you know, very straightforward, sort of almost minimalist, sort of capsule-shaped budget knife. I will say that I'm not a super fan personally of the way the blade comes out of the handle. Because the spine rises up here, it kind of gives that, I've said it in other videos, the kind of Quaken look where you've got the blade and handle sort of in a slight upward tilt looking kind of thing. Where the blade actually tilts away from the cutting, like not into the cut, but away from the cut when you're pushing it in. This has got a little bit of that. I think it's predominantly just the fact, like a bit of an optical illusion between the spine raising and the fact that this chamfer actually gets wider and as it goes back, so it gives that kind of a look like it's going to V out on you. It's mostly straight and it's fine in the cut. Just, I'm not a fan of that aesthetic. That sort of, like, you'll see it a lot on, well, the Quaken designs and the Japanese Tanto kind of stuff. I'm not a super fan of that design, or language, or the fact that the blade tends to be moving away from the cut instead of into it. Personally, I like to grab material. But this one is, like I said, mostly an optical illusion, I think. So it's not too bad. Overall, it's a fine budget knife. It's not something to rush out and get, but if you like this simple sort of aesthetic and this just like look of it, at the price point, you're not probably going to be too upset. I will say again, the edge is slightly better than some things I've been seeing lately, and like the Kaiser that I got recently. In fact, it's right here. It's very comparable, I'd say, to the Kaiser. Actually feeling it. Yeah. Well, the front feels a little bit sharper, so it's got a little more teeth up here, but where it's worn down and actually been used a little bit more in this area, I think, it feels pretty similar to the Kaiser, so, It's fine. It's nice to see more options out there. I'm not going to complain, and yeah, I think that's about it, really. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you very, very much for watching. Consider liking and subscribing to support a small channel and help me grow. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate your time, and have a great day. See you later.